Hello and welcome to the Preparatory Piano exam sheet. Now if you look very closely at this exam sheet, you will notice that the mark scheme is just slightly different. Now the reason for that is because you've got a sight reading test for the first time. So let me explain a little bit about the sight reading test. Now with the sight reading test, it's worth 10 marks in total. Now the sight reading that you will get will just be in your right hand, and it's approximately 2 grades lower than the grade that you're actually taking now. So you're looking at something around the first steps level. So if you go back to your first steps tutor book and look at the pieces that you played in the right hand for the first steps, you get the idea of what sort of level the sight reading is going to be at. Now if you need to have a little bit more practice of the sight reading tests, they can be purchased through VCM publications, through their website. So let's have a look at the mark scheme then, in a bit more depth. First of all, you'll be playing 2 exercises and they're worth 20 marks. Then you've got your scales and also arpeggios, and they're worth 10 marks. Then you've got your pieces, and they're worth 50 marks, and questions worth 10 marks, and then your sight reading is worth 10. So what I'm going to do on this exam sheet, I'm going to give my recommendations of the exercises and the pieces that I suggest you play. Now the reason for that is because I feel that these pieces and exercises link very, very nicely with the tutor book, so you've already had a lot of experience of actually playing these pieces in different formats within your tutor book. So my first recommendation will be exercise 2. Now this exercise is in the key of G and is shown by a tempo diminuendo marking at a minuet tempo. Now if you look closely at this piece, you will see there's quite a bit of detail in this. You've got slurs, you've got staccatos, you've got crescendo and diminuendo, and you've also got rit. So what I suggest for you is to remember this special word, that distinction means detail. So the more detail you put in your exercises and your pieces, the more likely you are to reach the distinction. So here's exercise 2. Now my next recommendation is exercise 3. Now this exercise has a tempo indication of poco allegro, a little faster. Again, you can see you've got staccatos, you've got slurs, you've got dynamics, and you can see there's a big crescendo at the end, crescending up to fortissimo. Then moving on to the scales, and you will notice on the scale sheet you've got your scale and then you've got your arpeggio shown next to it. Now what you've got to remember is that the examiner may ask you to do the scales and arpeggios separately, so just be prepared for that. Again, he may ask you, or she may ask you, to do all the scales that are on the sheet, or she may only ask you to choose or do a representative sample of the scales. So just be aware that you might not be asked to do all the scales. Now I've already covered the scales in previous tutor books and the arpeggios as well, so I won't play them now, but just be aware that you might not be asked all the scales that are on this sheet as part of your exam. Now my recommendation for the two pieces are pieces that you've already played in the tutor book, so I don't need to play these again now, as you've seen performances of these already. So my first choice is Steamy Summer Blues, and you could have already found that in the tutor book. And my second choice is the Alouette. So both of those you've had experience of already, so enjoy both of those and play those in your examination.